Good evening and welcome back to the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Just a few hours ago, a new spacecraft, an unpiloted Russian Progress resupply vehicle, was launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. And now, just about 5 hours after this launch, you're looking at the replay of the launch that took place at 2:35 and 13 seconds p.m. Central Time, 1:35 and 13 seconds a.m. Baikonur time on Thursday, August 2nd. Now we are just 39 minutes away from an accelerated docking of the Progress vehicle to the International Space Station, testing out a proof of concept for the Russian side to provide an accelerated rendezvous capability for not only Progress vehicles, but perhaps for manned Soyuz vehicles in the future. Here in the Space Station Flight Control Room here in Houston, the flight director on console at this hour is Mike Lammers. He is the second from your right. Judd Freeling, another flight director, joining Lammers on console this evening. And to Lammers' right, Lammers wearing the dark jacket, to his right is spacecraft communicator Rob Hayhurst, who is communicating with the space station crew on board the International Space Station when required this evening. This operation tonight is being controlled half a world away at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov, the town just outside of Moscow. You're looking at a view from a balcony camera overlooking the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Russian Control Center, where flight controllers are currently monitoring the status of the Progress 48 resupply craft as it steadily closes in for a docking with the International Space Station's Pirs docking compartment at 8:24 p.m. Central Time this evening. This accelerated rendezvous profile being employed by the Russians tonight has been in the works for some time now. It is designed to accomplish several things. First, to increase the crew's ability to arrive at the International Space Station without the cramped confines of a Soyuz vehicle over a 2-day period. Also increasing the post-undocking free flight life support margins from 2 days to 4 days at the back end of a Soyuz vehicle on the assumption that this accelerated rendezvous profile is in the not-too-distant future incorporated in a Soyuz manned mission. It also would increase the ability to rapidly deliver a crew and supplies to the International Space Station in the event there would be a time-critical emergency on board the orbital outpost, and in the case of a situation that would prevent a redocking or a docking of a Soyuz vehicle to the space station, it would increase the time available for the replanning and re-rendezvous in a second attempt from just 1 day worth of margin to 2 days worth of margin. So everything has gone just by the book since the launch of the Progress 48 some 5 hours and 15 minutes ago from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. In the first 2.5 hours after launch, there were 4 major rendezvous burns of the Progress's engines called DV burns, delta velocity burns. Typically, in the first day of a normal 2-day rendezvous from the launch pad to the space station, there are DV1 and DV2, the first 2 of these rendezvous burns in the first 24 hours of the flight, followed by a third DV or rendezvous burn in the day after launch, and a fourth DV burn 2 days after launch to place the vehicle in an automated rendezvous or terminal rendezvous capability. All 4 of these burns were packaged in the first 2.5 hours of this flight, and as a result, the accelerated rendezvous moved into its terminal phase just after 6 p.m. Central Time. Everything has gone extremely well. A series of small so-called impulse maneuvers or small thruster maneuvers to fine-tune the path of the Progress to the International Space Station were accomplished over the past hour and a half. The Core's automated rendezvous system was fully checked out. This is a different core system than the upgraded system that was tested on the old Progress 47 vehicle that rendezvoused and redocked with the International Space Station on Monday, following its undocking on over the weekend. The final undocking of the Progress 47 took place on Monday after a redocking over the weekend. That new upgraded core system was successfully checked out. The old Progress departed the Piers docking compartment for good on Monday and has been placed in a safe distance away from the International Space Station for several weeks of engineering tests by Russian flight controllers. It will be deorbited and will burn up in the Earth's atmosphere in about 3 weeks. The 48 Progress, this new vehicle that was launched just a few hours ago from the Baikonur Cosmodrome, will arrive at the International Space Station for a docking just 34 minutes from now. It will remain docked to the Piers docking compartment until Christmas Day.
Gennady, you can send the tour activate command.
Russian flight controllers instructing Expedition 32 Commander Gennady Padalka, who is inside the Zvezda service module, along with his cosmonaut colleague Yuri Malenchenko, to activate the Toru system, that is the telerobotically operated rendezvous system, a manual docking system that would be employed by Padalka and Malenchenko to fly the Progress 48 resupply craft in for a manual docking to the Piers docking compartment. In the highly unlikely event there would be a failure of the core's rendezvous system. Again, the 48 Progress is equipped with the old version of the core system, not the new version that was successfully checked out on the 47 Progress vehicle that just departed the International Space Station on Monday for the final time. The International Space Station and Progress are currently flying 254 statute miles over the southeast corner of Australia, moving from northwest to southeast, about to make a swing just to the south of New Zealand and across the South Pacific.
Activating network. Have all the...
Right now, the 48 Progress vehicle is about 2 kilometers away from its docking to the International Space Station, closing at a rate of just under 6 meters per second. At the time of contact and capture at 8:24 p.m. Central Time, the Progress will be traveling just 1/10 of a meter per second in velocity.
I'm proceeding to the RUO hand controller test. How do you copy? I copy. RUO test has been completed. No issues. Proceeding nominally to the route test.
The Progress vehicle once again was launched just about 5 hours and 20 minutes or so ago from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, and unlike its typical 2-day transit to the international outpost, this Progress was programmed and its onboard computers set up for an expedited, accelerated rendezvous of just 6 hours in duration to test once again the proof of concept that a quick rendezvous capability could be obtained and possibly applied to manned Soyuz vehicles in the future. No timetable has been given for the incorporation of this accelerated rendezvous for manned vehicles, although it is entirely likely that at least one more test of this fast rendezvous, the fast
1.7
accelerated rendezvous capability, will be incorporated into the next Progress vehicle. That has not yet been confirmed, but all signs are pointing to at least one more test of this rendezvous profile.
Station is center, but not too clear. Gennady, if there's a need, you can toggle the lighting. Propose initial can be activated, then switch lighting, and then continue. Switch AGC mode, and then continue. Yeah, we're going to do that, but a little bit later. Okay. We see braking 1.4 kilometers, 5.2 range rate.
The timeline from this point out calls for the Progress to reach the terminal phase of its rendezvous and to begin a fly around of the International Space Station just after 8 p.m. Central Time, just a few minutes from now. It will complete that fly around and do a roll maneuver to precisely align the forward docking probe at the forward end of the Progress spacecraft to the docking port on the Pirs docking compartment. Just a few minutes later, a period of station keeping will ensue while the Progress is about 175 meters or so away from the Pirs docking compartment. A final check of the orientation of the Progress vehicle to allow Russian flight controllers to ensure that we have a precise alignment between spacecraft and docking port on the Pirs. Once that takes place, the command will be issued for the Progress to begin the final phase of its rendezvous, with contact and capture anticipated at 8:24 p.m. Central Time. Within a few minutes, the hooks on the Progress vehicle will close around comparable hooks in the Pirs docking compartment docking interface to form a hard mate between the two vehicles. The crew will conduct a series of leak checks over the course of the next few hours as they have adjusted their sleep period to accommodate tonight's activities. However, the hatch to the Progress resupply vehicle will not be opened until Thursday afternoon by Padalka and Malenchenko to begin unloading almost 3 tons of cargo from the craft. That includes almost 2,000 pounds of propellant, 110 pounds of oxygen and air, 925 pounds of water, and 2,817 pounds of dry cargo, which consists of maintenance hardware, resupply items, life support system items, and experiment equipment for the Expedition 32 crew on board the International Space Station. The Progress was rolled out to its launch pad at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on Monday. It was fueled for launch earlier this morning, Central Time, about 9:30 Central Time, and was prepared for its launch. It had to launch into a very narrow phase angle or corridor. In fact, 3 minutes before launch time earlier today, the International Space Station passed directly over the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, and at the time of liftoff that you're looking at a replay of right now, the International Space Station was just 2,300 statute miles in front of the Progress 48 as its Soyuz booster lifted off from Site 1, Gagarin's launch pad at the Baikonur Cosmodrome. Once again, there were 4 major rendezvous maneuvers that were packed into the first 2 hours and 40 minutes of flight instead of being spread out over a 2.5-day period, as is the typical rendezvous profile, to accelerate the Progress's chase to catch the International Space Station, docking currently just 26.5 minutes from now. We are now just about 600 meters separating the Progress from the International Space Station. Its rate of closure has been reduced to just under 2 meters per second as the two spacecraft are about to become one. The Progress about to link up to the Pirs docking compartment to complete this accelerated rendezvous.
650 and the rate 1.9. So we can see this stack very nicely, MRM1 and DC. Okay, copy. So its approach is from SM. 600 meters, 1.9 is the rate. Copy.
We're expecting to regain television capability through our tracking and data relay satellite system on the U.S. Ku-band communication system a short time from now. However, we will caution that television of the docking may be a bit spotty tonight just because of the geometry of the approach of the Progress to the Pirs docking compartment relative to external cameras on the International Space Station. This docking will occur outside of Russian ground stations. If the docking occurs on time at 8:24 p.m. Central Time, it will occur over western Ecuador.
470 метров, 1,7 скорость.
470 meters, 1.7 is the rate. Copy?
Once again, since its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan about 5 hours and 25 minutes ago, every single system on the Progress vehicle has functioned perfectly. Its core's automated rendezvous system, all of the engine firings, perfectly programmed in a very clever and novel approach by the Russian engineers to enable a single-day launch-to-docking capability for this resupply craft. Again, this technique is being tested, at least on this flight, perhaps on an additional Progress flight later this year, to verify a proof of concept that may be incorporated into manned Soyuz launches to reduce the time that crews have to be confined to the rather cozy confines of a Soyuz spacecraft for 2 days plus.
Moscow station.
The Progress is now closing in on 300 meters away from the International Space Station. We're expecting the fly-around of the station to begin imminently.
No, not yet. I will do the adjustment. Okay, copy. Gennady Ivanovich? Yes, we have a good picture right now, so we won't use the AGC mode yet.
300 метров проходим.
300 meters, 0.69 is the rate, but you're receiving the format, right? Yes, correct. Copy.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're looking at a view of the Progress 48, fresh off the launch pad of the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, having accelerated through a compact series of rendezvous maneuvers, and now in the fly-around of the International Space Station. The fly-around has begun at a distance of just 290 meters away from the Pirs docking compartment. This fly-around will once again enable the Progress through its automated computer program to precisely align its forward docking probe with the Pirs docking port, enabling a period of just a few minutes of station keeping in which the approach will be zeroed out, enabling Russian flight controllers to assess its alignment to the Pirs docking compartment before the command is given for the final approach for docking.
260 meters, 0.44 is the rate. This station is very visible, very clear. We can see the DC, all modules. Okay, copy.
The Progress vehicle and the International Space Station now separated by just 250 meters, flying over the South Pacific at an altitude of 253 statute miles. Both spacecraft soon to enter an orbital sunset. And once again, if you look against the cloud-covered South Pacific Ocean, you can tell the Progress 48 vehicle. External cameras on the International Space Station zooming in. And an even better view now zoomed in by the communications and tracking officer here in Mission Control. A good view of the Progress 48. It took just under 9 minutes for the Progress to reach its preliminary orbit following its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan at 2:35 and 13 seconds p.m. Central Time on Wednesday. Once it arrived on orbit and separated from the third or upper stage of the Soyuz booster that sent it aloft, the Progress deployed its navigational antennas and its solar arrays and began a comprehensive checkout of all of its systems, conducted 4 major rendezvous burns in the first 2.5 hours of flight, and a series of subsequent mid-course correction burns to fine-tune its path to the International Space Station, now just 200 meters separating Progress from its destination.
Station keeping is...
And the visiting vehicle officer here in Mission Control reports that right on time, station keeping has begun. Once again, this will be a period of just a few minutes of station keeping to enable the Russian flight control team in Korolyov outside Moscow at the Russian Control Center to evaluate the alignment of the Progress's forward docking probe to the docking port on the Pirs docking compartment. This is an impressive series of operations by the Russian flight control team in Korolyov, executing tonight the second docking of a Progress vehicle in just several days here. The redocking of the Progress took place on Saturday night. The old Progress vehicle, it undocked for the final time on Monday, and now within 48 hours of that final undocking of the old Progress from Pirs, we have a brand new Progress vehicle on an expedited and accelerated rendezvous profile that's about to dock to Pirs and spend the next several months linked up to that docking port.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Please select the initial. Say again.
Будут 3 команды. БПС исходная.
So BPS initial, the first command, then работа operation, the second one, and the third deactivate operation. Okay.
This view is from an external camera on the Progress vehicle, the engineering overlay that by now most of you are familiar with. In the lower left-hand corner, the 195 km shows just 195 meters actually separating the Progress from its docking port, closing at a null rate right now.
We have second approach.
And the visiting vehicle officer reports now that final approach has gotten underway a few minutes ahead of schedule. The Russian flight control team very happy with the alignment of this vehicle to the Pirs docking compartment.
Again, acceleration of 0.7, copy.
метров.
160 meters, 0.8 is the rate. You can see the target.
You can see right in the crosshairs of this target, or just to the right of the crosshairs, that is the Pirs docking compartment. Launched on a Russian booster back in 2001 to the International Space Station, now 11 years old. The Pirs is scheduled to be replaced by a new larger laboratory module that will also double as a docking port, scheduled for launch in late 2013.
Do you read?
Геннадий Иванович.
Gennady?
метров, 0,66 скорость.
110 meters, 0.67. Everything is stable and nominal. The target is practically in the center.
The Progress cruising in slightly ahead of schedule. Just 110 meters separating Progress from its docking destination. Once again, after contact and capture, there will be a period of just a few seconds to allow the relative motion between the two vehicles to dampen out before the forward docking probe on Progress is retracted to literally pull the Russian segment of the International Space Station flush with the Progress docking interface and form a hard mate. Hooks will begin to close on both sides of that docking interface, and leak checks then will be conducted by the Russian crew members on board the complex before they call it a night. The hatch to the Progress not scheduled to be open until Thursday afternoon.
метров.
17 meters, 0352 is the rate. Target is in the center, and the crosshairs are matching. Everything is stable. Copy.
Just 70 meters now separating the two vehicles, closing at a rate of 0.3 meters per second. Everything functioning perfectly on the Progress 48. .60 meters separating the two spacecraft, everything looking normal. All systems on the Progress functioning by the book. No issues reported. This is an automated approach, as has every facet of this flight in the 5.5 hours that have transpired since its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan.
Геннадий Иванович.
Геннадий,
Да.
go ahead.
На 30 метрах выдать команду
30 meters,
исходного и работа.
please send the command prepares initial and operation. Okay, when we are at 30 meters, we will send these two commands.
Правильно.
Copy. Affirmative.
метров проходим 0,2 скорость.
50 meters, 0.2 is the rate.
Принято.
Copy.
Геннадий Иванович, и выбрать увод разрешен.
Gennady, and also please select
На 30 метрах.
breakaway is
Да, БПС исходная, работа, и вот разрешен выбор.
Работа, вот разрешен.
is enabled. Yes, we will do that. We will select a breakaway enabled, and we will also try to use AGC mode.
Progress 48 loaded with almost 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies for the 6 crew members on board the International Space Station.
See the crosshairs.
3 Russians, 2 Americans, and a Japanese astronaut led by Commander Gennady Padalka, the first 3-time commander of the International Space Station. He and Yuri Malenchenko at the controls of the manual docking system.
Is matching with the background.
They would take over manual flying of the Progress in the unlikely event the automated CORS system would incur a failure. However, the CORS antennas have now been properly retracted. Everything in great shape as the Progress glides in for a docking which is now expected to be slightly ahead of schedule. Just about 30 meters separating the two craft. Progress will disappear behind the Kibo module that you're seeing in the foreground of your picture.
And we're getting ready to send the command BPS and also the operation command. We have 30 meters. Okay, so I'm sending BPS initial, then operation, and also breakaway enabled. Copy. Can we use the AGC mode? Yes, you can.
30 meters now separating the two spacecraft. Progress closing at a perfect rate of 1/10 of a meter per second. Once again, this unpiloted vehicle will stay docked to the Piers docking compartment until Christmas Day, when it will undock and make room for yet another craft. The next Progress vehicle, Progress 49, is scheduled to be launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on November 1st and docked to the aft port of the Zvezda service module, currently occupied by the Eduardo Amaldi automated transfer vehicle for the European Space Agency.
So the target is shifted a little bit to the right, but everything is within the limits. The vehicle is moving very steadily. Copy. So Baza Air. We have now it is on AO.
Great views of the Progress 48, which just a few hours ago sat atop the third stage of a Soyuz booster on Gagarin's launch pad at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Now about to complete an accelerated rendezvous and docking to the International Space Station.
17 meters, 0.12.
Just 17 meters separating the two craft. Progress 48 and the International Space Station traveling from southwest to northeast across the Pacific Ocean, west of South America.
Moving towards the center. Copy. Meters, 013 is the rate. Copy. The target is in the center. Copy. So you are defining the range visually, yes. Visually and also using the ruler. We have a special ruler. It's very convenient. Yes, I understand.
Подходим к дальности 10 метров,
14
скорость.
10 meters now is the range and 0.14 is the rate. Copy.
And Progress now less than 10 meters away, standing by for contact and capture.
10 meters is already done. Copy. We're at 8 meters now.
Скорость не более 0,1.
Not more than 0.1 is the rate.
7 метров дальность.
7 meters.
Устойчивый корабль.
The vehicle is stable. 6 meters is the range. Copy.
The docking target now aligned with the forward docking probe on Progress, thanks to the Corps' automated rendezvous system, just 4 meters away.
The rate is about 0.1. Copy.
3 метра прошли.
3 meters. Copy.
Метр дальность.
1 meter
Ожидаем.
is the range. We are expecting the contact. Copy.
Есть касание.
Contact.
Docking confirmed
Copy.
at 8:18 p.m. Central Time.
Fine. Beautiful.
Docking confirmed. Progress 48 completes a 6-hour ride in the express lane from Baikonur to the International Space Station.
According to the procedure, okay. Copy. Will do.
Space station now in free drift, preventing any inadvertent thruster firings to allow the relative motion between the two vehicles to dampen out before the docking probe on Progress is retracted. Docking occurring 253 statute miles over the Pacific Ocean, just off the west coast of South America. So less than 6 hours ago, the unpiloted Progress 48 resupply ship sat enclosed, enshrouded at the top of the third stage of the Soyuz booster on the launch pad of the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. And now, less than 6 hours later, is attached to the International Space Station. Hooks will be driving shortly to form a hard mate between Progress and the Pirs docking compartment. Once again, docking occurring at 8:18 p.m. Central Time over the Pacific Ocean at an altitude of 253 statute miles off the west coast of South America. So with docking having been completed in a flawless fashion, we're standing by for the initiation of the retraction of the docking probe and the closing of hooks on both sides of the docking interface to form a hard mate.
Soloviev, here you are there. I am here. Go ahead, Vladimir Vasilyevich. So congratulations. The whole crew as well. So in 6 hours, almost 6 hours, it took us to dock the vehicle. So, yes, it's an achievement. Great. Yes, I agree. It's a dream of every cosmonaut after the launch. 5, 6 hours later to be on the station. We have already discussed that. If we use this system again, that will be fine. Yeah, it's new, it's just a start, and we have to move slowly, step by step. So the next variant we will suggest it for Soyuz vehicle. So how would you like that? In 6 hours to be on the station? Yes, that's what I'm telling you. It's the dream of every cosmonaut and astronaut to be at the station as soon as possible. In a warm environment with hot meals. Yes, correct. That would be great. And also, the good backup for storage for all kind of operations. Yes, correct. So it's actually very progressive step. Yes, we will have a few days as a backup. Okay, congratulations are again in order. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. We also congratulate you on the ground and thank you for our joint cooperation and your support. Good luck.
That conversation between the chief flight director for the Russian flight control team in Korolyov, Vladimir Soloviev, a veteran cosmonaut in his own right, and Expedition 32 commander Gennady Padalka, congratulating each other and verifying what we've been saying over the past several hours, that this test, the first ever single-day launched to docking scenario executed for the International Space Station, proved to be flawless. The Progress 48 executing all of its rendezvous burns, and the flight profile that was constructed by the Russian flight control team, capping off a rather impressive 10 days of operations in which the old Progress 47 resupply vehicle loaded with trash was undocked from the Piers docking compartment and redocked to test a new upgraded Coors automated rendezvous system that worked just fine on its second attempt at redocking. Before the Progress was cast off and undocked for the final time for engineering tests just a couple of days ago. This launch to docking scenario lasting less than 6 hours in duration may be retested once again to verify all of the engineering nuances of this technique in the next Progress, which is Progress 49, scheduled to be launched on November 1st from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. That has not yet been finalized or formally approved. The whole intent, as you heard in that exchange between Soloviev and Padalka, designed perhaps to be incorporated for manned Soyuz launches in the not-too-distant future to reduce the amount of time a crew has to spend confined to the cozy environment of the Soyuz vehicle in what has been a 2-day rendezvous from launch to docking. In fact, the next launch of a Soyuz vehicle in October will employ the standard 2-day rendezvous profile for Oleg Novitsky, Evgeny Tarelkin, and Kevin Ford when they are launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on October 15th, docking to the International Space Station on October 17th. But this technique, having been flawlessly executed in this scenario for the Progress 48, is going to be analyzed and perhaps may be incorporated in the not-too-distant future for a manned Soyuz vehicle, enabling a crew to reach the International Space Station in the same day after launch. So for those keeping score, the elapsed time from launch to docking was 5 hours and 43 minutes. In moderate traffic, it probably takes that long to drive from Houston to San Antonio or in that neighborhood. So a very impressive achievement for the single-day launch to docking accomplished by the Russian flight control team in bringing Progress 48 to its port at the Piers docking compartment. And now we have received confirmation that the hooks are closed. The Progress now hard-mated to the Piers docking compartment, enabling the Russian crew members on board the station, Gennady Padalka, Yuri Malenchenko, and Sergei Revin, to conduct leak checks that will lead to the opening of the hatch to the Progress resupply vehicle on Thursday afternoon.
Okay, so operation is deactivated, page 27. And I'm sending the command to deactivate manual control. How copy? Copy. I have sent the command. Okay, should I send on the command on the deactivation of TV? Yes, will do. Okay, so the deactivation of TV is complete. So activate the BPS initial. So now I send the deactivation and the transfer of commands. Okay, copy. So the transfer to the standby is complete, and I deactivate operation. How copy?
This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, Progress 48 flawlessly docking to the Pirs docking compartment on the International Space Station,
And deactivate
culminating an express trip of just 5 hours and 43 minutes from its launch pad at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, launch occurring at 2:35 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday, docking occurring at 8:18 p.m. Central Time as Progress 48 linked up to the Pirs docking compartment 253 statute miles over the Pacific Ocean off the west coast of South America, completing a very impressive proof of concept of an accelerated rendezvous profile that may one day be used for manned Soyuz missions to the International Space Station.
Sure.
TV is deactivated. The command has been sent. So the backup transmitter is there.
So with the docking having been completed, the crew on board the station, the Russian cosmonauts, in cleanup procedures right now to back out of their docking cue cards. Progress safely latched now to the Pirs docking compartment. The hatch to the Progress resupply craft will be opened on Thursday afternoon by Padalka and Malenchenko, enabling them to begin unloading almost 3 tons of supplies for they and their expedition crew mates on board the International Outpost. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage of the launch and docking of the Progress 48 to the International Space Station. One programming note, we'll recap all of the day's activities and all of the activities of the crew members on board the International Space Station on Thursday on our ISS Update Commentary Hour, which will be broadcast on NASA television at 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. With that, we'll call it a day. Thanks for tuning in. From the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center, this is Mission Control Houston.